Hey Oscar,
What's up, Marius?
do you think you're useful?
I'm useless.
Mm, same. Um, just wanted to open with that question today because I've been thinking a lot about like meaning and being useful to the world and everything. So I guess also wanted to hear your thoughts. What do you think a useful person means?
I'm gonna define it better. Useful. Yes, you would think the first thing that might come into your mind is useful in a certain context. So, I don't know if we're speaking in the context of society, what a useful person might be. It's just somebody who contributes something to society to make it better as aligned with uh, the values of their culture
Mm.
and humanity.
Yeah, I guess a good idea. What was kind of thinking about the same, like what's the context. But also wanted to hear where you would go. True. So for society, I guess you want to fill in a gap. I think, right? Because for a functioning society, you probably want it to be structured and I don't know, functioning, right? So you would probably want to fill in a gap which exists. Like if you see that, I don't know, there's a shortage of. But again, yeah, you couldn't probably define it that simply. If there's a shortage of medical personnel, you wouldn't just go and study medicine, for example. What if it's not for you? But other than that, maybe not in occupations sense. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking, I guess. What is useful? So this kind of thought came from me analyzing the YouTube channel data. And I've never really claimed to be, a YouTuber or to be doing like much content or anything. But I looked at the analytics and saw that the videos that um, the videos with which I explained a specific topic that some people were interested in, like about engineering and science bachelors and like the difference between them and like study programs like applied computing, computer science, something that I am familiar with and I've been through. So I explained that, and the viewership is like way higher than anything else I would do on this channel. So I was thinking, maybe this is not only the way, but this is also uh, it's like a guide. It's showing me the way. Like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, because these days on YouTube and everything, you get rewarded by views and likes, and that's the exchange, I suppose. You produce something, and then you see how well it did. So that is kind of a direct feedback of if you did a good job. And here, I can instantly tell that people liked this, or more like got useful information out of it. So I guess, yeah, I just wanted to like let my frustrations out and think, what would I be useful for on that platform?
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's difficult.
you could say that you're useful by the virtue of providing something that other people find useful for them. Then you put the burden of defining what useful means on the people watching your videos.
Mm. Yeah. But I mean, right, so in this context, let's say that I make this video and maybe one out of like 1,000 people actually decide to use the information provided there, and it helps to like steer their career choice or something, and it helps them out. Let's say that's useful, right? But I guess more of a question is, and obviously no one has the answer but me, which I also don't, obviously. But it's like, so where do I go? What's the niche? What's the kind of thing that I would be an expert in, so I could share information so that it would be useful to people?
Yeah, I think I mean, yeah, of course, your concern. I think thinking about it as usefulness is interesting, but your concern obviously is to have views, so you can grow your channel and hopefully like make it your main source of income eventually, I guess, if it's successful to that extent. But yeah, I feel like it's whatever your role you play in society, you can't really have an strategic high level overview of what is my purpose, like what am I supposed to do here for to be useful to society. You just play a role in society and you don't really know exactly in which ways it's useful. But it's like, all of the people trading on the stock market, it's like all of them together make up what they help to move the money in the right ways, or hopefully in the right ways, so it lands in where innovation is happening. And so in society, whatever, you're like that currency, like sharing information or providing a service or whatever it is, and you don't know in the wider, like you're just concerned really about your own interest, but in that you're working as part of this bigger machine called society. And I mean, you could like say, oh, this is useful because A, B, and C, but that's always going to be kind of a limited view as we're not able to understand the complexity of society. But if there's something that, if we look at an example like you mentioned of needing more doctors or whatever, then that would happen at the government level, trying to encourage more people to go into medicine. And so you could say there is a clear thing that society wants, better healthcare, say, and the solution to that is to get more people into medicine, and so that we can understand and quantify. And yeah, I guess that makes sense because we create the structure and classify by classifying different things, and so the system is kind of like I'm running out of the words to describe it. We can comprehend the system because the system is made works on our own classifications, if that makes any sense. Don't know if that makes any sense.
Kind of like I'm trying to understand, but what I get from is this, that the system is set up to self-regulate, kind of, and self-sustain. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, self-regulate. Yeah, that would be it. I mean, I think it's just its own beast, the system. Like, and no one person understands the whole system. We're not capable of it. But because we created a system around ourselves, around how we think and interact with the world, we built the more complex society around that. And because of that, I feel that that's how we are able to also kind of understand how what is useful and what within the system.
Yeah.
Because it's defined by us as well. What useful means.
Yeah, true. It's like it is subjective too. One person may think that they're useful by, going to the, as you mentioned, like stock market and trading stocks every day, and then you might actually realize that a guy who thinks that they're not useful at all by I don't know, doing some sort of a low qualified job or something, right? And they think, oh, I'm not useful. Even, to be honest, that's the complete opposite, right? The guy who's doing some sort of I don't know, building construction work where all he does every day is just like lay bricks, the person is more useful than the guy who's like highly qualified, supposedly, well educated and trades stocks and stuff. And it's subjective too, because one of them may think that, hey, I'm not useful, I'm not creating anything, or the other might think that he's, the best person in the world. He's like, hey, I'm making the world go round or whatever. Yeah, I think it's true. It's all subjective too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can say it's just subjective, but if we just define it a little bit better, and look at empirically, if you're looking at the bricklayer and all of a sudden, like, we've got AI robots that are building all the houses and stuff, it's like, is he useful to the society anymore? And you can look at what's useful to society is also going to be, people are going to have a different opinion of what it means to be useful to society, because people will have different ideals for what society should be. Like, we all have our own little utopia in our head, and we're striving towards it. And not everybody's is different. Like, there's people who have similar ideas of an ideal world, which obviously doesn't exist. But there's something we're all striving towards, and it's a goalpost that keeps moving as we grow as people. But we're just like, we can talk about what is the meaning of doing all of this. Why? So
yeah,
I mean, that's where it all ends.
Yeah, and then you just think that maybe nothing that anyone does is meaningful or useful, or maybe it's the complete opposite. The other way around. Maybe every single thing that someone does, even if it's some very stupid, mundane thing, maybe that's useful too. Like, I genuinely thought that, like, TikTok dances are stupid and, like, they're just useless, right? I don't think I've changed my opinion, but I would probably say that they are still playing some sort of a part in the whole machine. Like, maybe there is still use for that.
Yeah, I'd be just fine without them.
But that's the thing, right? That's the thing. We might not be thinking about someone who's, like, totally depressed, and then maybe they watch that video and they find more joy because they're like, oh, hey, this brightened my day today. Cause,
yeah, but that's rubbish.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, what if that wasn't there? Maybe they wouldn't be depressed because smartphones wouldn't exist. Maybe somebody's depressed because of TikTok. They, like, go on TikTok and look at the fucking state of society today.
Yeah, for sure. There's that. So, there's that, and
like, if you just remove the, like, one element, like, it literally doesn't matter, because emotional state, it doesn't hinge on reality. It doesn't hinge on the physical reality. So if you just remove one element, it never exists. It never will exist. It's not going to change the balance of happiness and unhappiness in the world.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, you wouldn't have depressed people who are depressed because of TikTok, but you probably wouldn't have people who find joy in watching TikTok too.
Yeah.
So it's also a balance. If this exists or it doesn't exist, there's still a balance to this.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's useless. Just like everything else. But anyway, so quickly coming back to the origin of this thought and idea, I think YouTube is a place to share ideas. And obviously I've had stupid things happen to me. Like, a few days ago, I was like, I have this random channel, and I just verbatim, like, pixel by pixel, copied a YouTube video and uploaded it back to YouTube. Like a Vine compilation, one of those Vines that cured my depression or something, right? So I downloaded it and uploaded it to YouTube under a different title. And I received a community guideline strike, like a channel strike. Second strike, I think you delete your channel. I was very confused and pissed. I was like, if this was copyright, I wouldn't have any issues at all. But this was child safety. This was supposedly child abuse or something, and I was like, yo, this is stupid. So I wrote back an appeal. I pasted the link of the original video, and I said, I literally pixel by pixel copied this video, put it on my channel. Why is this video still up, and why is my channel getting taken down? Like, this is double standards, and they just rejected the appeal.
What was the video?
It's just like a 15-minute Vine compilation. There's nothing
Okay.
nothing remotely wrong about the video. It's just one of those, like a compilation which starts with some guy gets scared and, I could have dropped my croissant or whatever, like one of those stupid Vines.
Yeah.
And it's just a compilation. And they found something in them, and I'm like, wait a second. So why is the original video up there? It's like an absolute double standard. But yeah, this rant is totally off topic, but although maybe it is to the topic, maybe this rant was useful in the context of this pondering of this idea of making videos. Maybe it tells you something about YouTube. It's like it's both useful, but then it's also a beast of its own, and having to navigate it is kind of frustrating. But anyway, my idea is, right, I should do useful videos on YouTube, as I like doing videos, right? It's like if I was to do a video, it may as well be useful. But then again, what kind of expertise would I have that would be useful in the context of society and being able to share that with people? Like, I could talk about computing things, but then again, there does seem to be quite a few, computing channels where it feels like they cover everything. And then again, even if I was to do that video and would get views, I would maybe feel useless again, because, there's other people who do that. So it's a damn cycle.
By the time you, once you define what you mean when you're saying useful and useless, in every sentence, then you can start to kind of try to figure out what you mean, where you want to go with this.
Well, anything that some other person finds helpful. Like, honestly, looking for information on YouTube which you find and then act accordingly has been like a staple of my own life too. If I'm interested in some topic and I want to learn it, I would rather go to YouTube and see if someone else has anything to say about it, and like I like it. I think that's the exchange that I want to provide. But then my question is not what is useful, but my question is, what do I know about enough so that I could share it up to the level that would be useful to the other person? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Then if I was to share it, maybe there's other people who do that. That's my crux.
Well, if you don't, if you don't have anything that's unique,
that's
to
the
you,
point. Unique, yeah.
Then people, some people go on YouTube to share their life's work, some skill that they've been practicing for years and years, and then YouTube comes along and they're like, oh, let's put it on YouTube. And so it's a question you're going to have to answer yourself.
Yeah, something that we'll probably have to spend a few more years thinking about, because I'm approaching it from the other way around. Maybe the professor or someone who have you just mentioned as an example, has spent their life doing research, and now they're like, hey, I have this thing, I want to share it. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, hey, there's this platform which can share things. I want to share stuff, but what do I share? So it's like being passionate about creating something and sharing it, rather than being passionate about something which I would want to share.
Yeah.
Which I know that I have a few passions, but like, there's already many people, sharing that same thing, and yeah, it's just a frustration I'll have to probably work out on my own, which I've been doing for quite a while, but just doesn't work.
Well, I think the people who win in the game of YouTube are, well, there are many, but in terms of sharing useful things, and they'll be like the top of their field experts. They're one of the best in what they're doing, and then they also have the ability to share it in a digestible way.
There's a total balance between those two, because I have wait, have I read the book, or did I Anyway, there's one book which I think by Tim Ferriss, something about being an expert and how you become an expert. So you could pretty much start a YouTube channel on, being a florist, and from day one just start already sharing things about flowers better than people who are gonna watch you would know. So you don't necessarily have to have been studying it for 40 years. You can, be studying it for a month and then like, hey, I'm going to share this one concept which I've been studying for a month. Then you move on to something else and you share that concept. That's how, that's the success formula on YouTube with those like tutorial channels or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's difficult, being able to go and like learn about, let's say, interfaces, and then, hey, I'm going to make a video on interfaces on programming.
I mean, in the context of programming, programming languages are all, very similar. Yeah, there are differences, but they're all like Turing complete, so they can all do all the same things with the computer, just in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So there are tasks which one language is better for than others, and there's people who literally do that. They just learn the language very well, and then they create a tutorial series on it, and then they move onto the next language, and so on and so forth. And but that then exists with the context of them knowing so many languages. They can actually maybe make comparisons even between the languages. But I think oftentimes it is really even just the syntax and whatever of a language that they'll just go through.
Yeah, I guess just have to keep grinding, keep seeing what kind of things I like, because I sometimes think that I would have been a happier person if my temperament or character was a bit different, where, I was passionate about one specific thing, like heavily passionate about it, and then I would learn more instead of spread myself thin across all of these things,
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends. Because it's certainly something. I mean, it might come naturally to some people. I guess if you fall into something and then you get a lot of support in doing it from people around you and so on, then you'll just pursue that one thing. But if you come from the realization that to be like to be valuable to people in this world, to be a valuable person that people want to listen to or want to employ or whatever, like you have to specialize, and to be, if you want to be, I guess this is a kind of thing of wanting to be at the top of a field and be recognized for it. And like once you realize that, it's not easy because you make sacrifices. Because everybody wants to do, like as a kid, everybody wants to do everything, and it changes every day or every week or whatever. And then it might take, I don't know what people who are successful in specializing in one field, how they have gotten into it, whether it was easy for them or not. But I know for me, like it's a constant effort of making sure that I'm not distracted by random things that I'm interested in and pursuing one thing that I am, like that I have been interested in and think it will be valuable, because that interest, it comes and goes.
So it is a choice of yours to try and persist.
Yeah. But that comes from like it's just going to depend on like your situation, like how you're brought up and stuff, what kind of situations you got yourself into growing up, what kind of environment you grew up in. Yeah,
that makes sense. I've heard that one country, that's I guess named the country. So I think in Japan, it is, and again, these may just be myths, or rumors, but in Japan, you get recognized and you are an honorable person if you have worked in a company for like a very long time. You have a skill, you are very skillful, you worked here like 40 years, and you're a respected person. In India, it's the complete opposite. I think, especially in tech, it's like you get valued by how many companies you worked in, because that's your skill baggage is like huge now. But these are, again, I've only heard them like a few years ago, and I couldn't verify if it's true or not. So just literally take it as an inside scoop, as something that I have a little idea, insight, thought that I remember. Not sure if it's true. So yeah, I kind of understand what you mean.
Yeah, I guess it would be more. Yeah, it's interesting for programmers. Because, yeah, I guess you don't necessarily. You can be a good programmer and not specialize in one particular thing. I guess there's a lot of malleability with programmers. Like there's the yeah, I guess it's not. Yeah, trying to move, pivot or move within the domain of programming, is significantly easier than changing your field completely.
Mm-hmm.
So
I could imagine if you were like a heart transplantation surgeon, becoming a neurologist, like a brain doctor, is probably a bit more difficult because you've studied that specific part of the human body. But yeah. Other than that, I think it also comes to motivation, about being able to pivot, and the motivational types. So we've talked about Vata, Kapha, and Pitta, those three Indian kind of Ayurveda things. It's also learning how to live in unity with your style, I guess. That's what I mean. It's like you can obviously, for example, me, I could obviously focus on something, like one thing, but then what if I become miserable and my progress starts to slow down so much then that it's just useless of me trying to do that. It's like also finding what you're good at and how you should spread yourself across these things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because there's going to be like I would say finding what you're good at first before you go into any profession is about like your personality. So like, do you like working with people? Do you like working alone? Like that's like the baseline.
Yeah.
Do you like to have like a 9 to 5 schedule, or pick up gigs, random gigs? Like what type of work do you like, and that kind of thing. How do you work the best? Or what are you used to? It's pretty much what are you used to. And do you want to change that, or do you want to just follow, focus on it because it doesn't matter and it's your strength to do that? So, and then obviously as you start to develop professionally, and as you would have through university, you will have focused on some areas of what you're taught more than others probably. You might want to just keep focusing on those and continue with them even when you lose interest, because interest is going to come and go always. The thing but that you don't have is always going to become,
for some people, easier or harder than others, like according to all those temperaments and then everything types. Like for some people it's going to be easier to keep that interest and a deep passion for something. For others it's going to come and go easier.
Yeah, but it's basically just going to define your value in society. If you're going to be skipping from one thing to another, you're really going to have to find a way how that's going to be valuable. Like if you're in media or whatever you're doing, like if you're a YouTuber, you're still focusing on one thing, on being a good YouTuber. and getting those views in, and you can jump from different things that you want to like focus your channel on, if that means the views keep coming in. And there's obviously limitations there, but if you make your channel, like if you're just a vlogger, when you're just going out and you're, I don't know, hanging out with people, going to restaurants and be like, oh, this is 10 out of 10 restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're still. I mean, there's tons of ways of looking at it, right? As I would say, still focusing on something, because pretty much in anything else than being an entertainer, like that, you're going to be really specializing in what you're doing. And to make exception for that one small field of media, I don't think that's probably the most efficient way of looking at it. I'd say the people in media are still focusing on their craft of doing the media stuff, and whether they report on different things, for example, it's just they don't have like they'll focus on a thing, and maybe they'll move on to another thing and forget about that previous thing mostly.
Oh, so you say that the thing that's persisting is the media creation thing. That is the passionate thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could say passionate, but
yeah, okay.
And your interest in that might still come and go. Like you might have days when you hate it, and then days when you're like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. But as long as you persist with it, because that's essentially what generates value for you as a person, because you're become an expert in it. Like if you could just jump between things and not in the context of like report on what you report on, then like anybody can just jump into the next thing that you're jumping into, and like what was your value, and anybody could like pivot into that instantly. So yeah, that's my kind of analysis of that.
Yeah, it's a good one too, because as much as maybe that is an easy thing to get into, let's say a specific thing that we're not mentioning because I don't have an example, but like, what if no other people are doing it? Then even if it's easy and no one's doing it, then you may have to be the one that paves the way to just start doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
But then obviously, if you are able to discover such a thing, that's like God tier, man.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to you. Discover something that's not been done yet and it's easy to do. Wow.
And I also wouldn't focus on career. I focus on just living your life, and career as a means of providing for living your life. So
work to live, not live to work.
Yeah.
I think those are kind of good words for us to end the podcast today. It's like we used to have these sayings at the end of the podcast, and work to live, not live to work. Yeah, I think that's good. You got anything else?
No, that's me.
Well, good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. If you have actually listened all the way till the end, you are a goddamn gladiator. Appreciate it. The OGs and everyone, thank you. The gratitude. And catch y'all next time.
See ya.